my channel. Happy New Year. If this is your first time stopping by and visiting me, my name is Tamara. I would love for you to join the family. So go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. I hope you all had a safe and happy New Year, and I thought that it would be fun to just sit down and talk about 20 lessons that were learned in 2020. A lot of these are lessons that I personally learned, and some of them are lessons that I feel that we learned as a humanity. So let's go ahead and discuss 20 lessons that were learned in 2020. So the first lesson is many things are out of your control. I bet 2020 had the control freaks going crazy. And I don't personally identify as a control freak, but I will say in 2019 and then in the very beginning of 2020, I was definitely trying to control a lot. Because, you know, if you don't know, I had a baby in 2020. That's a whole nother story. But it was a complete surprise to us. We were not planning to get pregnant. When we did, we were ecstatic, of course, because, you know, this is something that we've been wanting for many years, but we were waiting, you know, careers, all that good stuff. So I was pretty anal about, you know, creating the pregnancy and the atmosphere, the environment that I always dreamed of. But I knew that there was going to be a lot of give and take, a lot of compromise, because I wasn't in the position, you know, to create that fully. So I was trying to do everything that I possibly, you know, could to make it look like what I always, you know, saw in my head. And then 2020 came and a lot of things went out of the window. Life happens, and we have to be able to surrender a lot of the ideas that we have in our head, because most of the time life just has another plan. Number 2, sometimes you get what you ask for. Listen, how many people declared that 2020 would be the year of perfect vision? I don't think it was the vision that we specifically asked for, but our eyes were definitely opened. 3, humans need physical touch. I can't even imagine going through those first couple of months of quarantine alone. And I know that there were so many people who were alone during that time. I'm so grateful that I had my husband, that I had my newborn baby to just love on, because it was hard to not see friends and family, especially during that postpartum time. I didn't really want people coming like immediately, but you know, after like the first like 4 weeks, I was anticipating, you know, seeing some family. I was hoping, you know, that my mom or my sister could come, and you know, that just couldn't happen. But I am grateful, you know, for my little tribe that I did have. 4, fellowship is so important. So that's along the same lines of being able to interact with your family and your friends, you know, just spending time with people. Thank God for technology. You know, sometimes we give technology a bad rap. You know, I've mentioned it before on the podcast, you know, screen time and all that. But thankfully, you know, we did have our cell phones and our computers and our laptops, so we could FaceTime and, you know, Google Duo and set up Zoom rooms and everything like that. That was so imperative in 2020 to be able to just see our loved ones. Number 5, time isn't promised. I think that this is a huge one for all of us. We take time for granted, pretty much. We're always planning, you know, our lives for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you know, even thinking about our lives tomorrow, the next day, moment to moment. We're anticipating that we'll be here, but we don't know that. So take advantage of each and every moment. Make that phone call, send that text, start that project, because we just don't know when it's our time. Number 6, rest is needed. I know we live in this society, in this culture where it's always go, 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 but everything needed to stop. And I think it definitely revealed to many people, I've always been a huge proponent of rest, but for many people, that they did need to take some time for themselves, to allow their minds to just settle, allow their bodies to just settle, to just sit back and see clearly and hear clearly. Number 7, the system has always been broken. And when I say system, I'm talking about America as a whole. When we look at healthcare, when we look at education, when we look at politics, there have been systems that were put in place from the beginning that were not beneficial to all of us, to all people, and it has always been a problem. 2020 stopped everything so we could really shine a light on all of these different areas where, you know, the underserved, the underdog, if you will, have been shouting and screaming for so long, but nobody really stopped to listen to them or to see them, to see us, to hear us. It's always been broken. We just needed enough people to acknowledge it. Number 8, ignorance is a choice. I was having a conversation with my mother the other day. Specifically, we were speaking about racism, and I can go on a tangent, but I'm not. But I just don't believe anyone, specifically who lives in the United States of America, who is above the age of, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, maybe even younger, has not seen, heard, or experienced racism. I just don't believe it. So for those people who just don't think it exists, who aren't aware of it, who were completely shocked and flabbergasted to see the murder of George Floyd, to be appalled by the peaceful protest over the summer. I just don't believe you. And if you truly are just oblivious to the fact that racism is very alive and very dangerous in this country, it is because you have chosen to be oblivious. Especially in the world that we live today, there is so much information literally at our fingertips. Like, you can Google anything. There is so much access. So ignorance is not an excuse. It just isn't. All right, number 9. Change can be good. Change can be good. I know when we're like in the middle of something tough, we don't want to hear about change and how change can be good and beneficial, but it can be. Sometimes, it can be. I think that in particular, a lot of companies realize that they could do something new and different and that it could work even better for them. So sometimes change is good. 10, perfection really isn't necessary. Look, it took us having to move, for me, moving home to Buffalo, moving in with my dad, really not having space to do much, to relaunch my YouTube channel and to start my podcast. I'm literally in a corner because this is pretty much what I have, to work with. It's not perfect, so that perfectionist in me, sometimes kind of goes crazy, but I've done it and I've been doing it. And, it's sometimes we think we need all the things to do the thing, and we just don't. 11, investing is a must. I had this conversation with my husband, I think literally last night. I think we were talking about the stock market, and it should literally be taught in school. It should be a part of the curriculum across the board. Starting in middle school, learning about investments and the stock market. I truly just never really thought that it was for me. It was never in my lane, unless I want to do something in finance, be an accountant or, something like that. Like, I don't really need to worry about it. I definitely had like this one track mindset where I'm going to be successful in my career. That's how I'm going to, build my wealth. And just having no understanding of it whatsoever, especially when you come from a low income family, you definitely think that it's out of your wheelhouse. That is so not true. Man, the knowledge, the wisdom that I have gained over this past year is tremendous. And I just wish I had this information a long time ago. Investing is so important for our future. 2020 definitely taught us that. Number 12 is along the same line, building generational wealth. It is bigger than we think. I've always been a huge proponent of this. I think that has always been like a major driving force for me. I want to build generational wealth. And also what has been huge for me is, I guess you would say, building cultural wealth. Really improving our Black communities, improving our dollar. That has always been huge for me. This pandemic has definitely hit people of color and women the most. I'm Black, I'm a woman, I know. So I think that it is imperative for all of us to really have that mindset of building generational wealth. Number 13, appreciate where you come from. I had peace. It was my idea to move home anyway. I told my husband, I said, look, I think we need to go. So I had peace about it. But of course, I have like these emotions that I try not to let, get the best of me, that I am home. I went to college when I was 18. I never moved back home. So to have to do that now at this point of my life is kind of unsettling. But, I understand, a lot of people had to do this. We're in a pandemic. We're under certain circumstances. And when we first moved in the summer, my husband and I, we would go out, we would take walks. And there were a lot of places that I guess discovered that I never really paid attention to as a child, growing up here. And I found some beautiful places. And it just put me in this mindset to really appreciate home, because I appreciate home because my family is here, but I have started to appreciate it in its entirety. The environment, the culture, the people. I think that it is so important to acknowledge what has been a huge factor in your life. Our environment definitely has a hand in shaping us, whether we become an exact product of that environment or we do something different. Number 14, your timeline isn't God's timeline. We definitely learned that when we found out we were pregnant. Okay? We can plan all day, all night, but God still has the final say. Number 15, a setback can be a set up. Listen, I definitely did not think that, I would be sitting here in Buffalo, in my dad's house, not my own house. This is my reality at the moment. And I can definitely say, although I feel like 2020 forced us to move back some steps, it has definitely propelled us a bit in some ways that we were working towards. And being here has actually allowed things to move faster for us. Sometimes we just have to take the good with the bad. Sometimes things do need to be removed to make space for other things in our life. 16, you can't plan everything. that's it. You can't plan everything. 17, you are qualified. This is something that I struggle with. I've been struggling with. The podcast is kind of, again, this ties into perfectionism. We want to be perfect. And I don't know who I was listening to, but they were speaking on basically the serial. They were basically speaking on the serial student of, now I believe we should all be students for life, but the person who's always getting a certification after certification, because they're searching for that affirmation that what they're called to do, what they're really passionate about, that they can actually do it. And I think a lot of that stems from fear. Of course, you should have some type of qualification. You should know what you're talking about. You should know what you're doing. But oftentimes we get stuck in our heads and fear consumes us. We really just need to take that jump. We need to start moving. We need to start working. We need to stop doubting ourselves. Number 18, artists are the keepers of history. I'm an artist, I'm an actress. Man, it really hits close to home because performing artists give so much of themselves to inspire, to entertain, to encourage, to challenge. And it's been so sad to hear about so many theaters having to close, so many artists being laid off. We don't know when live theater will be able to come back. Of course, filming, has definitely picked up and, is running and everything. Of course, it looks different, but artists don't often get the appreciation that we all deserve. It was made clear, it was pretty evident that, once the pandemic hit, that art became kind of like a life force for so many people. And years from now, generations from now, we'll look back at the work that was done now, the work that is being thought about, the work that is going to be done in the next few years about this moment, about this time. The writers, the singers, the dancers, the painters, the actors, all of us who live to tell the stories, these will be the people who will relay the message and the lessons that were learned in 2020. Number 19, you are not alone. We all go through a number of things as people, and even though our circumstances can sometimes be very similar, our stories are always going to be unique to us. But I think what can be comforting is knowing that grief, trauma, loss, disappointment, all of these things are things that we go through collectively as a people. And although my story is different from your story, we can still connect on that level. And we can know that we truly are not alone. And finally, number 20, give people their flowers now. At this point, we have probably all lost someone or know of someone who has lost someone that is pretty close to them. And oftentimes when we experience loss, we always think about the things that we wish we could have said. If we just would have sent that message, or if we would have made that phone call, or if we weren't afraid to, say that one thing to that one person, we would definitely do it all over again. So it is important to love on the people that you love, to support those people, to encourage those people, congratulate those people. Words are powerful. Words are meant to be spoken. So those were 20 lessons that I feel we have all learned in 2020. The most important thing right now is to not forget these lessons. 2020 was a hard year, and although we're now in 2021, we're still pretty much in the thick of it. So let's not forget what we've seen and heard and experienced together. Let's continue to move forward. Let's continue to strive to be better. Let's elevate as a people. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I pray that your 2021 will be full of blessings and joy and growth and transformation. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it out with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Come along on this journey with us. Join the family. I would love to have you here. Until next time, peace, love, and light.
Without you, I would be nothing.